My name is Omar Ayash. I am the president and CEO of the World Trade Center here in Kentucky and sometimes in Dubai. It's really a pleasure to be with you here today. Uh, last year was a very exciting year for the World Trade Center, but 2026 is going to be even a more exciting year for the World Trade Center here in Kentucky. And I want to share with you three important messages. The first one has to do with how important international trade is for the state of Kentucky. You hear me every time talk about the numbers that are happening when it comes to the exports, when it comes to the imports, when it comes to foreign direct investment and the value of international trade to the state economy. Close to $48 billion of export left the state of Kentucky last year. $32 billion of imports came into the state of Kentucky last year. Significant. We have more than 258 foreign direct investments happening in the state of Kentucky. The number one being out of Japan. Of course, Toyota is a reason for that. And at the same time, when you put all of that in context, we rank second in the country when it comes to international trade as GDP per capita. That's how important international trade is for the state of Kentucky. I was speaking to Todd a few months back, and he said we typically rank last in a lot of things. It's good that we rank second in a different way. So that's the first message. The second message revolves around why do we keep focusing on the United Arab Emirates? And it has to do with actually my interest in there. Started in 2007. Unofficially, I took a group of business people from Louisville to go be part of the construction boom that was happening in the United Arab Emirates. And that's the first time that I noticed about all the activities that are happening there. And then 2009, I decided to make a full move into that country. And it was pretty exciting to see the level of growth that's happened. And I stayed there till about 2022 full time. And then I came back to Kentucky, and I wanted to make sure that we focus our attention in the relationship between the state of Kentucky and the United Arab Emirates. And last year was the third year that we had led a trade mission to the United Arab Emirates, particularly in Dubai. We had more than 16 people attend the trade mission with us. And we're going to continue to do that every year. And what's more important than that, many of you have probably heard the news, is the UAE administration as well as the United States administration is very focused on creating that relationship and creating that opportunity. And they've discussed about $1 trillion investment from the UAE into the United States over a period of 10 years. And I want to bring that $1 trillion investment to the state of Kentucky. There's actually a website that tracks the number of investment that's happening out of the UAE into the various states. It's called UAE Preferred. And if you open that website and you look at UAE Preferred and you notice what's happening with Kentucky, and there's not much activity. And that's one of the reasons why we want to continue to focus on that. So that's the second reason. And then the third thing is, we this year continue to bring more programming and more activities. We're relaunching the World Trade Day. This is an activity that used to happen for 25 years. We're relaunching or rebringing the Martha Lane Collins Award for International Trade Excellence. We're inviting ambassadors, consul generals, and things of that nature. So, we're very excited about the fact that we're bringing these types of activities to the international trade community. So we continue to support that in a number of different ways. But anyhow, without further ado, our host here today is the University of Louisville College of Business, which I'm a proud graduate from that institution. And here to give us the welcoming remarks on behalf of the college is Associate Dean Jeff Wong.
Thank you, Omar. And so our dean, Dr. Amy Henley, is under the weather today. So she said her regrets. She really wanted to be here today. If you, I don't know much about international trade. My background is artificial intelligence. But if you open up economics textbook, any textbook, it'll say that trade is good. International trade is good, and that's what builds wealth and prosperity. And we're lucky in Kentucky to have Gomaa as running the International Trade Center. And before I left my desk to come here, this literally came moments before. Business first, I'm quoting the numbers to complement what Omar has already shared. So UPS Worldport moves roughly 2 million packages daily. Louisville Riverport Authority, foreign trade zone number 29, moves 25 billion in goods each year. So I didn't know that. And this is truly amazing. I had a chance to talk to someone from Paris, Kentucky, and they're selling to 31 countries. Isn't that amazing? And Leonard is the name. If you raise your hand, yes, there you go. And so this is what Kentucky is in terms of trade. So I think you're in for a treat today because the speakers, I know some of the speakers today, they have they're successful business leaders, but they have also been to UAE. They have explored the business environment. They have built relationships, and they have turned opportunity into results. Right. So, so this is not a session on theory, but it's about what actually happens or happened. With that, I would like to thank our speakers and also thank Omar for working with us. And of course, he's an alum. He's supposed to work with us too. So thank you, Omar.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming tonight.
So, before we get started with the program here, there's a couple of things that I want to point out. One is we're going to be in this room for the program, which would last anywhere from 45 minutes to about an hour. We'll hear from the great speakers, and then we'll go across to the other side of the University Club where there'll be some hors d'oeuvres and a few drinks, and wine to stick around for that and have a good time with that. But before I turn it over to Theresa, there's a few things that, recognitions that I would like to point out. Starting with anyone involved with the University of Louisville College of Business, thank you for hosting us. Stand up. Let's give them a big round of applause for Secondly, I want to thank Rashur Joshi for 4 years of being the chairman of the board for the World Trade Center. Rashur and I spent many sleepless nights, working hard, but give him a round of applause for Wolf. And I want to recognize Steve Marks for the current chairman of the World Trade Center. Raise your hand, Steve, so people will know you. With that, anyone who's on the World Trade Center board, please stand up so people would know who are the wonderful leaders that are working hard to make the organization happen. Fantastic. Also with us is the Kentucky District Export Council, Rick Grana, and anyone else on the District Council, please stand up. Give them a round of applause for the ones that are listening. Wonderful. I want to recognize Old National Bank with Michael Janik and Tommy Wallace for being a sponsor also tonight of this event. Please stand up. Wonderful. Okay. I'm just going to have everyone stand up. No, I'm kidding. There's so many people that I want to recognize for all the wonderful things that are happening with the World Trade Center and all the partnerships. But I'm going to skip on some of the things. But there is one that I think, for anyone that's been with us to Dubai, whether you went year 1, year 2, or year 3, please stand up so people know who are the ones involved. Oh, yeah. And Jeff Burkhart with the Canadian Consulate, thank you for driving in the snow to visit us. He drove in from Columbus, but the furthest person that drove from Virginia was Ayman, who you'll hear from. Thank you, Ayman, for driving that far. Anyhow, without further ado, over to you, Theresa. Thank you.
I'm here.
Up here. Right?
Good evening, everyone. Hello. I'm Theresa Reno-Weber. I'm the CEO of GoodMaps, and I had the honor of going on the trade mission in 2024. And I have the privilege this evening of being the moderator for the distinguished panel of business leaders who went on the trade mission in 2025. So I'm going to ask each of them to come on and join me at the stage. Brad Cummings from EQL Games, come on up. Dr. Todd Schmiedeler from Thumbprint Consulting. Ayman Gomaa from AIT Global, and Akhil Nair from Xena Intelligence. And as they're going up, I'm going to give them their first prompt and question, which is to introduce themselves and their businesses and to share why they wanted to go on the trade mission this past year. So I'll kick it over to you, Brad, first.
Online test. Hey, I'm Brad Cummings. I'm the founder and CEO of EQL Games. We are a lottery company. We supply content for digital and state lotteries around the country and around the world. And I say around the world specifically because we have an exclusive contract with the brand new UAE lottery that started December of last year, but I guess technically two Decembers ago. And that's the reason why I came on the trade show. The trade mission. And what was that? I just moved to a trade show. So yeah, I had a great time in Dubai. The office that I deal with is Abu Dhabi, so I can a little bit of insight into Abu Dhabi as well as we go. But fascinating country, incredible trip, and very grateful to Omar and his team for the opportunity.
I'm Todd Schmiedeler. Nice to meet you guys. I am the founder and CEO of several companies. Our main company, Thumbprint Consulting, helps businesses find free money to grants. But I really went to Dubai because of some of our AI companies that do curriculum development and some AI other projects. And part of the reason I also went is because I'm very fortunate to have a lot of friends in this town and also have business associates who I thought it'd be valuable for me to go see what is going on around the world, that I might be able to bring good companies and good ideas back to the people who are here in Kentucky.
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Gomaa. I am the founder and CEO of AIT. And actually, I didn't go on the trade mission. I was just there. So I do live in Dubai. I've been in Dubai for about 8 years. I'm retired U.S. military. That's how I ended up in Dubai. And I loved it so much, so I stayed there. We do talk communication security. We provide service to top industry as well as government agencies.
I'm Akhil. I'm the founder and CEO of Xena Intelligence. We are an AI tech company, one of the fastest growing in Kentucky. So we work with brands that sell on e-commerce platforms like Amazon and Walmart. They use our software to optimize their listings, run their ad campaigns more effectively, and so on. So now you might be wondering, what is an AI e-commerce tech company person? But why is he going to the Middle East? And the reason that I joined the trade mission was that I needed a vacation. I'm kidding, though. I really wanted to expand the opportunities because, like Omar said, there's huge potential for companies, for capital, for CPG brands specifically, because they are my customers, who either want to expand within the ecosystem, who want to enter the US, and also are pretty open to working with US-based companies. In fact, excited about working with US-based companies as well. So that's one of the reasons I went. And along the way, I think we made some amazing friends. I mean, don't let these guys fool you; they are incredible. We were able to share some amazing conversations. Ayman, for example, he wouldn't be able to share 95% of his stories in this room because of the nature and complexities of his business. But it just goes to show that even though I went there to get exposure in the Middle East, I think I found the best exposure, best network from the people who came to the
Awesome. And I'm going to thank you for your service. He can't tell any stories because he was U.S. Army Special Operations. And so
Thank you for your service.
you got to get a drink with him afterwards to hear all that. But I mean, you have been doing business for how long now in the UAE?
8 years.
8 years. And so, as you know, looking at the US and Dubai, you've got businesses in both areas. What were some of the things that were initial challenges for you as you were looking to grow a business in the UAE that, were maybe surprising for folks here?
So, so a lot of people think like building business is one size fits all, and you live here, and you think when you go to another country that everybody really gonna put out the red carpet for you. Well, that's not really the case. That's one thing. The second thing, I think the biggest challenge. Louder?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? I'm loud. I actually got the microphone. Closer. This is too close to I'm not comfortable with. But anyway, so actually the other thing too is like a lot of people don't understand the cultural differences. So you go there and they think that how they were doing business here will apply there. So you get to learn how to do it. You get to learn what trust means, how to do business, how to make the people trust you, and what value are you bringing to the table. Not just going there as an American company that everybody will just say, "Hey, yeah, come over, we'll do business with you." The other thing too, I use Dubai as a hub. So Dubai is not just where I do business. I do business actually mainly in challenging markets, just like Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, all the places that people like to go to. Going from here is a lot harder, but going from there, it's a lot easier, location-wise and just the brand itself.
Yeah, strategically very well positioned on the other side of the world. Brad,
Yes.
first of all, I'm glad you're here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I wanted you to know that Omar was been up. So I'm 11 days out of surgery, and I want you to know, I looked at the doctor before the surgery. I looked at his eyes and said, "Doc," I said, "Do you do me a favor?" He said, "Yes, but I anything." I said, "Thank you, Doc. Would you have me ready for February 4th for the World Trade Center forum?" He said, "Sure thing." So here I am. Yeah.
Well, threatening to be and you're going on it.
But nothing, wild horses couldn't keep me away.
So, Brad, before you went on the trade mission, you had already been working for a while, I think, on this deal with the lottery there in the UAE. How long, tell us what that process is like. I mean, as you were establishing that relationship, I think a lot of people see the UAE as an opportunity zone, and there can be challenges, but I think there's also a lot of opportunity, a lot of connections, obviously through Omar, the World Trade Center. They are open for business for sure. Talk about the process of building those relationships and setting up that deal and maybe how it kind of played out over time.
Sure. I'll give you all the truth. Listen, I'd actually been to Abu Dhabi the year before. So it would be, we're there in October for Dubai. The December before that, I'd gone out to Abu Dhabi to get the contract done. And truth be told, the initial piece of the relationship was built through an American contact, somebody that I knew in the lottery space in the U.S. Who was brought in to help organize the initial year or so of the lottery effort there. Probably somebody could look at me going, "Lottery in UAE, like that's kind of strange, right?" There's actually a push now in the UAE specifically for regulated lottery and gaming. Those of you familiar with the Wheel Casino brand, there'll be a casino there in 2028. The northernmost Emirates. The name always escapes me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And both the lottery is the first piece of that regulated gaming space. And it started off with digital. And what we do as a company is we provide digital content for lotteries that have what we call iLottery on your phone, kind of think of it like slot machines on your phone, but we're not allowed to say slot machines because that's gaming, but as a word picture at least. And it's fascinating because at least my experience was actually more British nationals, Chinese nationals, people from Hong Kong, were actually brought together. Some Americans were brought together to put together this effort. But the style of business definitely permeated through the entire experience. It's a very you have to be when you come in the country and do work there. You have to be patient with sort of the pace of things. They can be very slow. They can be super fast. Then it can be like very slow again, and then speed up on you again. And oh, hey, we need this in 3 days. Oh, actually 6 months. It's a lot of that kind of stuff. And some of that's just sort of the style, the way that they seem to operate from the strategic standpoint. Very enthusiastic about being leaders in industry, and so definitely had to learn a different pace. And I always feel like when I'm in another country, it's sort of like I'm at somebody's house. Like it's not for me to walk in there and tell them how to do business. It's for me to figure out the pace and to be able to work with them on that. So, we're still, to be told, we're still sort of working out the regulatory environment. It's been a little slower than we like, but again, like a year or two before that, like gambling was like a terrible sin. So it's you got to put that into context, and that's of course why we work in other lotteries as well, like Michigan, Virginia, North Carolina, that kind of thing. So our business isn't dependent on the UAE. I probably would advise if you were to do business in the UAE that you're not looking at that as your only source of income. That becomes a part of a larger pie until you can build the UAE business to something that's more meaningful.
And are you having to hire team members there, place an office there? It's solely a contract that you're working from here?
Currently, it's a remote contract from here, but as the business grows, we will be, planting employees, probably embedding them in their office. So yeah, it's a 5-year contract. We're there to help the lottery grow and do the things that they need from us. And so we're listening to our clients and enjoying the opportunity to be there. It's obviously an incredible calling card to our company to be able to tout being part of something like this, and hopefully it's a great calling card for the state of Kentucky that we have a company like this in the state, a startup that's been able to expand internationally like this. We also do some work in Peru, so to be able to have some international footprint with a relatively small startup company, I think that says a lot about. Hopefully not us, but also about the state of Kentucky and where startups and companies are growing in a way that maybe doesn't get as much of the headlines, but there's a lot of companies like Theresa and I are part of the Endeavor Network. Shout
out to Justin Brown.
There's a lot of there's a lot of things to be proud of here when it comes to the startup culture, and this UNE experience is obviously a nice button on that.
Awesome. And Todd, you mentioned, I think, relationships here in Kentucky and around the country. Those are always important. We've heard now trust and relationships and sort of the need to build those. Obviously, when you're in the UAE, you're trying to move into that space as well. While you were on this trade mission, talk a little bit about, the relationship building, the networking, the things that you learned there that you're excited to bring back here, and maybe what you're looking to bring there in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Theresa. I often think about networking in terms of a bullseye, circles, like an archery sign. That, I always think about the center circle being those relationships that are closest to me, people I work with every day, my family, those sort of things. But as you start to extend out, how do you keep or develop relationships that you may not have been able to get on your own? And I will say this is that, one of the true values of the World Trade Center is that it has this incredible international and national network of World Trade Centers around the world. I came to realize that it had 357, I think it is, World Trade Center chapters. Close enough, he said. I'll give you one experience. So it's Friday, the last day I'm supposed to leave at like 11:30 at night to fly back on red eye. Great experience. amazing conference to learn things. But it's 8:30 in the morning on that Friday, and I'm doing some work from my hotel room, and I get a message on WhatsApp from Omar, and it is that he's been able to secure a meeting for me at 10 a.m. with the head of AI for the entire country of Dubai. I went there because we have an AI curriculum company that does things like AI for LTC, which is long-term care. We develop trainings around AI. So this was a real coup for me because if you don't know, this guy oversees all of AI for a country who is at the forefront of really breaking ground in AI. And to have that call, I remember, not a call, it's a WhatsApp. And next thing I know, he said, "Can you make it there? It's a 45-minute drive." And he probably knew I hadn't showered yet, you know. And so I am so excited to see this. And he's got this half-hour meeting. I get across town and I'm in talking to the gentleman, and I learned the most incredible things about what AI is doing in Dubai. And I'd like to share one. Okay. One of His Highness's directives. So the guy that runs AI reports directly to His Highness, the King of Dubai. And one of the directives he gave him was within 24 months, 1 million residents of Dubai had to get certified in prompt engineering. 1 million. They were 4 months into it and they had done 250,000 people. Now, I don't know about you. Okay. We've got a relatively small company. In our core company, we've got about 30 or so people. If I were to get 30 people to get prompt engineering certified in 4 months, I'd be impressed with myself. He had done 250,000 people across the city. And he was like, "I'm disappointed." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking too small. And I think one of the values in getting away from the circle, I hate leaving my wife and my kids. Okay. But getting away from that circle sometimes helps you realize that there's a bigger circle that can bring stuff to you that you may not have been able to see by staying in a small circle. And the hope is that you bring the same value to them. Because I was able to go from a half an hour scheduled meeting to I was there for an hour and 15 minutes, and we were having a really good conversation about how we might be able to work together in a first meeting, because I was able to share the trust that the World Trade Center of Kentucky shared with me with him. And I think that we need to make sure that we don't miss out that ultimately business is between two people, not even companies. And if you really want to leverage that, you have to have somebody who you trust and who that other party trusts to really have an acceleration and depth in that relationship. And I'm thankful that I went on that trip for so many reasons. And this circle is another circle that I would agree 100%. I learned stuff from the guys sitting at this, table with me that helped me become a better leader in my own company, but also think about how I might be able to do things with them here that'll bring more stuff to not only our companies, but the state.
That's awesome. And I remember being there and just thinking how impressive not only the growth and the pace of change and the risk tolerance and sort of their bold thinking is, but also their ability to execute on it. Just to your point. And, Akhil, when you think about the marketplace that you're in, hopefully the doors that were opened there and the things that you're hoping to do in that market, talk about some of the relationships that you built or some of the ahas that you had during the trade mission.
Sure. Before I met Omar, I really wanted to, I was happy to like them, but before meeting Omar, I really wanted to expand my startup to Dubai. And so it was just a fever dream because I had a little team back in India. I had a team over here. My software could be used anywhere on this planet, even outside the planet. So that's not really a restriction. There's a lot of capital. Then, like I said earlier, there's a lot of commerce happening. And there's a lot of push towards technology in this space as well. And of course, there's a massive expat community who's again expanding the ability for consumers to purchase. So I had no idea how to go about it. So I sent a few people there. I explored it. Nothing was really working out, and then I was presented this opportunity to be a part of this trade mission, out of which we get an opportunity to attend I think one of the largest tech conferences called GITEX. It's massive, and so being a small startup, one of my primary concerns was that will this be worth my time, money, and the effort. And thanks to things like Step Grant, thanks to Nair and the entire team, it just made that decision easier. And so I decided to go to the trade mission. It was fantastic. So there are a few experiences that I learned along the way. One is that people said you will have to localize yourself, your company, to cater to the local market. And so in my head, I'm like, fine, I'll Google Translate my website. I mean, I should do it, but oh my, was I severely mistaken? It's not just a language thing; it's very cultural nuances as well, which you kind of get to know along the mission. So one example is in our trade mission, there were a few people from UDA who joined along with us. They're not in this row. So we went to meet in a smaller group. We went to meet someone who's very, very influential, a lady who's very influential. She's pretty high up there. She's from there, very conservative. And she had a massive team. She had a large team there as well. And so this person, this man who was in our mission, he went to give her like what looked like a hug or a handshake. But anyways, he was approaching very close to her. And then she politely said, thank you and stuff like that. So that kind of, gave you really decide on how you need to really understand the culture over there, not just in terms of niceties or how you greet people, but also really understand how they work. So that is something you get taught in business school, but you can actually experience that, and you kind of have a mindset that you're like Brad said, you're entering someone's home. You're a guest, and it is your responsibility to make them feel make them feel as if you're a great guest. So that was one. Second experience that I had was in GITEX. It's massive, probably like 50 football fields over there, and it's filled with people all over. There were talks happening. There were a number of companies there. And so me and Todd, we were walking, and then Todd had this, I don't know, the persona where wherever he goes, there are people surrounding him. Like people come and introduce themselves to Todd. So, and then in his own words, he gives off influential white person wealthy why. Most of it may be true in reality as well. And so that was interesting to observe as well, that all people from and they were ignoring me, obviously, because he wanted to talk to me. But I decided to coast off his influence as he walked around. And in just that, in conference, I think we may have spent 4 or 5 hours there. We were able to close like 5 contracts with customers thanks to his aura of influence. So I'm going next year only if he is going as well. It just doesn't make sense. So that's another example of how quick connections could be made if you really understand what's happening. So for us, the whole mission, the whole experience has been amazing. Currently, we have like 15 companies that we work with directly. In the Middle East, we are currently considering expand to Saudi and other regions as well. So it's overall been a really good experience.
Fantastic. I think this is for Ayman, but it could be for anyone. When you think about the minimum viable way to enter into the UAE market, what would your recommendation be? I mean, if you're a startup company or a company with limited resources and you're looking to expand in that region, you don't want to overcommit. How do you start?
So first of all, I mean, you would have to understand the market. And I always tell everybody, rather than you don't want to jump into the pool without knowing if the water cold or hot, or what you want to do is you want to just check the water first. So what I tell people, find somebody there that you trust and partner with them. There are a lot of companies there who there are a lot of people like me that want to just show you that, hey, this is how I've done it. This is how it worked for me. And it might work for you, it might not. But I've seen a lot of people going, and so there is something, the concept of a free zone entity, which is like dollar Port Hazard here, where you only has it, and then the UAE have I think over 30 free zone where a foreigner can own a company 100%. They have service companies, they have trade companies. So based on what you do and what you're gonna do, you need to understand that So I've seen people like go ahead and say, well, I can go online. Like I've seen you say, you can go online and you check with Google, and Google have the answer. And usually the answer is not correct. You want it to really get somebody on the ground who knows how to do it. So to go like with the minimum, just find somebody there and start checking things first. And the UAE is like, it's a small country. The population is about 10 million. Only 1 million of them are locals, like Emiratis, and 9 million are expats. So you got to see really what you want to sell. And a lot of people like we see, like Akhil is saying, you can go from the UAE to Saudi. Try the UAE first because it's a smaller area where you can really get like a good introduction to the market. The other thing too, they are now as conservative as a lot of people think, like, oh, it's the Middle East. And I'm like, well, it's just check it online first before you go and you assume it's like the rest of the Middle East. It's just partnering with the right company there, finding the right partner there would be very helpful.
And it is, I think, surprisingly more progressive than most people would realize if they've never been there before.
Extremely progressive. So I was working, so before I got my business there, I was detailed to the State Department. So I was working at the US Embassy, and we had a TDY, like a temporary duty person come in, and was a female. And she sent me an email. She's like, what should I dress? How should I dress? What should I bring? And I knew her. And I said, actually, the way how you come, you'll be very conservative. You might want to like loosen up a bit. So yeah, it's very progressive.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went to Abu Dhabi, and I called my wife that night and said, honestly, there's parts of this place that if it didn't have Arabic writing, I would think that I was in the U.S. It's very progressive, certainly for the region. I think we probably have a jingoistic view of what the Middle East looks like as Americans, anyways. But I think it's even kind of blows that out of the water. Where so don't think you're walking in and it's all going to be very traditional garb and all that. Like, I mean, also don't wear shorts too. So somewhere in between. But it's I mean, the malls are incredible. Like, there's a ski slope in the mall, and there's a giant aquarium and all kinds of fun stuff, and about 35 Starbucks in each mall, which is kind of incredible. But yeah, it's a very Americanized or westernized, or however you want to put it, sort of culture, and yet still it has a very traditional sort of backbone to it. So that's the part where you really want to respect the culture, because it is an Islamic culture, and it does have those underpinnings. But as long as you're not acting like a like you should enjoy it the same way that you expect to enjoy just about the other country.
Me and Brad were walking in the mall, and we were looking at the stores over there. You have KFC. You have Chili's, you have Red Robin, and me and Brad were like, where are we right now?
Yeah. But we got hungry, so
the KFC was much better there.
Actually, my first trip there, I went to Five Guys, which blew Five Guys out of the water here. So not that I suggest going all the way there for a Five Guys. It's probably a bad admission, but we're being real here.
Okay, so Todd, besides exporting our fast food, there's a lot of good things that the UAE is doing, but obviously we've got a lot of strengths here in Kentucky as well. We're leaning in on technology, on AI, through your company, through others. What are some of the opportunities that you saw there that you would say Kentucky has a real advantage in potentially bringing to the UAE?
Well, there's two things really, and I'll say that it's not just in the UAE. We're fortunate today to have the Canada represented, and Omar's obviously brought other leaders in. So we're focused on the UAE, but I think that this is also an international discussion, about what Kentucky can offer. Number one is that I think that we have a lot of really smart, entrepreneurial-minded individuals in the state of Kentucky who are looking to go and do another level in their business. And not every country in the world is as entrepreneurial in an environment and culture as the United States. And so I think that there's a lot of talent that we have here that can actually do benefit from being international thought process and being exposed internationally. And that's why one of the programs that I went through at the World Trade Center was this international certificate program, and it helped give context to what it was that we could offer and how we could take advantage of that. The second thing is that we have amazing products and services coming out of Kentucky. Everybody talks about the Kentucky Fried Chicken, the bourbon, but there are so many other manufacturers and so many other service providers. I mean, Theresa, just your company, GoodMaps, the thought that if you don't know GoodMaps, the thought that, GoodMaps goes around and takes, and I'm going to do a poor job, so I'm sorry, but basically takes and lays out buildings so that it becomes accessible inside. I call it, I think that they used this before. It's like the Google Maps inside, and it's an amazing product. And I mean, and I think there's that kind of exposure that we have here that we haven't figured out how to export yet. We've not made it easy, efficient, and effective because we've not spread the knowledge of that. And we've not got enough people going on these trips to be able to bring that back. Because in Louisville in particular, we're a small town. I get involved. I really went because of Omar. Okay. I mean, in the end, I went because he said, you got to go back. And I had been there 10 years ago. So I went to Dubai, 10 and 12 years ago, and 10 years ago, I spoke at a conference in Dubai. And when I came back, people would ask me, oh my gosh, what was it like? And I said, it's New York on steroids. Okay. I went back this time and it is so much more than it was back then. And it's not stopped. They're building a brand new airport across the town, and in another area, and it's going to dwarf the airport they have now. And that airport might be the nicest airport I've ever been in. And so I'm going to encourage, if you're out there and you're thinking, you must have thought at least an inkling that you have an interest in this. Connect with Omar, connect with one of us, let us help you get connected there because you have something to bring to the UAE and other places like Canada that I think are real assets that maybe aren't as appreciated here as they may be someplace else.
Teresa, I want to add something to this. So I've seen a lot of companies who actually came that will reach out to me like LinkedIn or somebody who knows you and they connect with me. And I've seen a lot of people are terrified of leaving their comfort zone. So a lot of people are like, you know what? I'm doing very well in Kentucky. I might export to India. I'm like, you just crossed the bridge, buddy. So what I really encourage people to do, go and try it and see it. And then you will see it's not as scary as a lot of people think. And while the UAE, a lot of people see it as a very competitive market. I'm not going to take away from that, but you guys have a lot to bring to the table. Soft skills that I've seen there. Like when I'm doing like a business meeting and I'm telling somebody, hey, I'm meeting you at 11. They come at 11:15. I'm like, what are you late? He's like, well, still 11. It's not 12 yet. So you guys bring something like that to the table where you are committed. When you tell somebody I'm meeting you at 11, you need to plan. When you tell somebody I'm going to deliver this, you deliver exactly what you told them you're going to deliver. You keep your promises. You tell somebody I'm going to make a payment on time, you make that payment on time. So all of the soft skills are integrated that I'm not saying like the rest of the world is lacking that, but we have actually more discipline in doing that. So the competition is not as bad as everybody thinks. And if you go and try, you'll be surprised how successful you might be.
And Akhil, you mentioned, there's some great resources that the World Trade Center and the state have to help support entrepreneurs or business individuals who want to go on trade missions like the one to Dubai and others. Do you want to talk to us a bit about maybe how you tapped into some of those resources for this?
Sure. Again, all thanks to Omar. He's the one who started all of that. But then we had other people in our trade mission as well. For example, there's a gentleman called Sunny, what everyone knows over here. I think he's an alumni. He's one of the other people who really helped me make those connections as well. And apart from the business stuff, I'm an immigrant over here. I came to the US about 7 years ago. So it took me a while to understand the cultural nuances. I really like it. Thankfully, I'm a citizen now, and I really like it. But one thing that didn't hit me was like when you went to UAE, and then you want to do business over here, you realize to understand their geopolitical, social situations as well. And one of the first things that came out was that Dubai is not UAE. Dubai is one of the Emirates of UAE. I might get it wrong. And there are other Emirates within UAE as well. So, for example, Dubai is kind of like New York. Like it's a lot of stimuli, a lot of capital, a lot of expats, a lot of activity. And then you have other places like Sharjah as well. So I think Omar organized a trip for us to visit Sharjah, where they had the American University of Sharjah within the University of Sharjah itself. Now, let me tell you about University of Sharjah. It's like 10 Taj Mahals put together. That's a library. It's incredible. It's massive, and it was very clear that they've invested very much into developing that educational aspect of Sharjah as well. And like, for example, Brian is getting into the lottery ecosystem that is built up in Ras Al Khaimah, which is surprising for me because I knew that religiously perhaps gambling was not traditionally accepted as part of things. So it was very enlightening to see that things are changing constantly and preconceived notions have very little place in this. So I think bringing that barrier really helped in breaking the shell, breaking out of my comfort zone and really get into the networking aspect of it. And then the similarities don't end there. So in the startup ecosystem, I was able to pitch to a couple of angel groups. There's a Doha Angel Network. There's a Dubai Angel Network. And my experience with them was very similar to the Bluegrass Angels or any of the angel groups in this country as well. So I think there is a line that goes when they are trying to get very close to the Americanized or American way of doing business. And so we are in the cusp of getting full access to that. So I think they're in a great spot.
So Brad, you're a couple of years in now to working this deal, getting it through. If you could go back, knowing now what you know, after having been on the trade mission, after having been doing this deal for the last couple of years, would you do things differently? Is there something that you would have changed in the way you approached it?
Interesting question. I think it's such an evolving thing that we're in the middle of, something so new to the country that it would be hard to wish there was something different. I mean, I guess, you'd like for attention. They imported all the guys from Vegas, and they all came to the UAE, and they do everything exactly the way it needed to be. But I mean, the reality is the reality, and that is when you're dealing with a brand new industry in a country that, like Rick says, as Akhil said, he was surprised it even existed. I was surprised when I got the phone call when I first had the opportunity to pitch the business, and I think I'm probably not the best one to ask because it's such a different environment. I mean, any time you're in business, if you're not looking back in 6 months and looking back 6 months to a year and a little embarrassed by the way you did things, then you're probably not doing it right. You're probably not growing. So I'm saying the general sense, like one of the best pieces of advice is literally like, if you look back at where you did 2 years ago, you're not embarrassed by it, that you haven't grown and you haven't become a better leader. So of course I could look at little things here and there and say, yeah, I wish I had maybe said this differently or approached a problem in a different way. But you also don't spend a lot of time beating yourself up about it because you're sort of doing things with the available information you have at the time.
I'm sorry, guys. So I was doing a project in Kenya, and I was trying to get to a project in Kenya, and it took me about 2 years. Like you were saying, like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I have a friend in Kenya that when I was in the military, I was started there, and I knew him, and I was like, hey, I'm trying to do this thing, and he's like, who are you talking to? I said, so and so. He's like, all right, just come over to my office. And then he calls the guy to his office, the guy that I'm trying to do business with, which was like a C-level guy in one of the largest telecom companies in Kenya. And he called the guy to his office and he's like, hey, we're trying to do this. And he's like, you should have told me that you know so and so. So usually it's not just what you are provided, it's who you are walking into the room with. Having the right partnership, like I'm going to steal your mind, that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So going together and going with the right person. So some of the regulatory process that you might have to go through, like when I started the company in Dubai, it took me about 4 months just to open a bank account. But again, when I talked to the right person, who called the right guy, who his cousin most likely, and he's like, open a bank account for him, man, what's wrong with me? So yeah, going with the right people and understanding the atmosphere and how to navigate the environment will make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's a truism in all life, but especially UAE. I think I'd like to hear your opinion about. I'm right here because I do have limited experience, but it is really about the who you know piece of it is so much, probably even more key there, especially coming as a foreign national, so from another country. I think what I'm going to say is spot on. There would have been for instance, there would have been no way I would have gotten this contract if I didn't have the connections that I had. That we would have, for a variety of reasons. We're a small company. And I think that they're very impressed with large companies that have, big footprints around the world. And so as a small company being able to come in, and we provided a service in a nimble way that they needed at the time, but I don't think that they would have seen it that way if we didn't come in with the right trusted sources. And so making sure that you come in with the right people, I think if you took anything away from this as far as getting the UA market, I think that's it.
Omar, can we open it up to questions from the audience? I would love, I've got a rapid fire set of short questions if you all don't have any, but I have a sense you might have some. So any questions from the audience for our panel?
Stop. Yes, I'm not voting, so yes.
Yeah, we got one.
5 questions.
Hello, everyone. Hold it closer. Got a question. So I understand that Dubai is one of the most expensive countries in the world. What kind of challenges have you guys been faced with in terms of, the funding and money being tied up, things taking a little bit longer than expected, and to just be one of the most expensive countries in the world? How has that impacted you? So I've been living there for 8 years, and while Dubai is very expensive, but like the gentleman, he said, well, there are other Emirates next to it. So you can actually look at it, okay, I'm going to live in Sharjah, but work in Dubai. Rather than having a big office, I'm going to have a smaller office. Rather than opening my own office, I'm going to partner with somebody. So there are ways of like going around that, but it's like any business. Again, I was there initially with the US government. So the government pays for your housing, your schools. And I was like, well, you know what, when we are out, how am I going to support my family? And within a year, I was fine. So it's not as challenging or as bad as a lot of people think. In addition to, there is a lot of money there, not from the government, but you find the right investors, you find the right partners, you find people willing to put money. One gentleman there told me like the cheapest commodity we have is money. I was like, well, it's nice to say that. So yeah, so if you have the right idea with the right connections, and you're willing to go and just jump in and see how it goes, you'll find people willing to invest.
Hello, Blanca Ramirez with Like to Dryer. Thank you for sharing your experience. And the question that I have is for those that were going for the first time to UAE, how did you prep? How was the World Trade Center key into preparing you, and what process did you have to go through made you feel comfortable into going? I think that's very important for everybody.
Sure, I'll come up with something. I think the prep is in. I think a lot of it's on yourself. You should be right. I don't think Omar obviously does a great service. I'm probably not the right one to actually answer this one because I've been there before and it kind of already knew what I was walking into. So I'll let somebody else take it.
Yeah, I had been there, but it was 10 years earlier and for a different situation. So I would say that there were 2 things. Number one is we knew that we were already set up for certain activities, like going to GITEX and North Star, which is the largest startup conference in the MENA area. We knew we were already going to that, so we had some context as to what we were doing with some of our time. But I really think the bigger thing is to understand what your objectives are going into it. I identified 4 things that I wanted to get out of that. One of those 4 things was I was going to go to GITEX, and I wanted to see if there were companies that were not currently in the US that interested me, because I'm heavy into the senior living space, and there's a lot of opportunity in that space to bring service providers. And I actually identified 2 companies that were not US based yet that were well developed, and I'm bringing them into my partners in the US. And so sometimes you could see things that you can't otherwise get access to, that you could bring a huge value to some of your clients or some of your friends. And so for me, the biggest thing is, am I prepared not just from an information standpoint of what's going on there and the people I might be meeting? Like I do a dossier program in AI, so that when I was literally at that meeting with the head of AI, I put his name in my AI dossier system with his role and his LinkedIn account. And while I took a shower, it was running. And I had a 40-page dossier that I flipped into Notebook LM that then did a podcast. So I listened to a podcast about this guy and how I might be able to serve him and my companies could serve him on the drive over there. So, prep is important. Okay. But if you don't prepare yourself for what you're trying to get out of it, shame on you.
Yeah, and I'll add, actually, now that I think about it, the real inspiration. He does. Well, he's got a great white aura, apparently. And that's a little weird, to be honest, but okay. It doesn't apply about our aura. Yeah. So, no, the prep, I don't know if prep's the right word, but the fact that you're going to go there, you kind of have a safety net of, 10 to 15, 20 people that are all in there together with you, that all have relatively similar lack of experience in the area. I think that's probably the most comforting thing about it is that no matter what kind of preparation you have, like you're going to, like you're only going to fall so hard, right? It's the worst thing is that you're going to be at a crappy restaurant, right? I mean, like you're not going to end up, you're probably not going to end up in a bad spot. By the way, it's an extremely safe place to be. And so if you have any of those kinds of concerns, like I always told my first visit in Abu Dhabi, they said, if you left your wallet on the ground outside, you could come back the next day and it'll either still be there or it'll be put up on a ledge so that it's easier for you to find when you come back to find it. And I think it's very true. And that speaks to kind of the ethics of the country. And so I would go there and feel comfortable with anybody going and experiencing that and going out on their own and experiencing the country. It's an extremely safe place to be. So if you have any of those kind of reservations in the back of your mind, that you should put those to bed.
Before going on the trip, I was highly advised by Omar and everyone else as well to the prep piece is super important because they have the scheduled programming, you have meeting with His Highness and you're going to GITEX and you have this whole schedule, but you have all these gaps in between. And that I think is the intention because before going to that list, so for example, I invited my dad over here. He has his own product design prototyping company in India. So I invited him as well. And so we were able to meet even more people as a result of it. And since I was a tech AI startup, I was able to make connections to a few investors before going in as well. I think Brian disappeared for a whole of 3 days, where he missed out on very important activities as part of a skilled programming activities, the dinner and the desert safari, stuff like that. You can't miss all that.
I showed up for the drink.
You did? And the whole guy.
All right, one more. We have another question in the audience.
Thank you all for sharing your experiences. I'm Greg Podesky. I work with Quant. We're a manufacturing support company that actually has operations in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, as well as lesser known place for this community, Louisville. So really glad to be here, really glad to learn from this group. But the question is, I see a lot of merit to Kentucky and this community and why we're a great place to do business. What does that facilitate to help bridge both us to do business in the United Arab Emirates, as well as that reciprocal of facilitating business coming back to Kentucky? I'd like to answer that. So that's my job. Yes. So you heard me talk about, the $1 trillion relationship that's happening between the Trump administration and, BlackRock and all the top guys, as well as the embassy of the UAE and Ambassador Yusuf Ateba. And that's one of it. And we want to see that happen. But the way I see the type of relationship that we're working on both avenues, is to focus on the middle market. And that's where we're focused. So we're taking delegations over to the UAE, but we're also bringing delegations back from the UAE to
Kentucky. And, we think these people are going to be investing in your businesses. They're going to be buying some of the downtown buildings. They're going to be buying some of your machines. So there's a two-way trade. And our focus is sort of like on that middle market. And we're very excited to see that relationship. We're very well represented. Our job, Patrick and I were back in the UAE last week discussing this. So this is the kind of thing, here we were. Last week there, this week we're here. And that's the focus. So over to you for the rapid fire question.
Okay, rapid fire questions brought to you by AI. So we're going to go through. I think you all kind of seen these, so hopefully you've got your one-word answer. If not, surprise. So, okay. I'll just give each of you one. I think we're kind of getting close to wanting to all go get a drink and a snack. So, okay, Brad, for you.
Yes.
Besides your passport, what is the one thing you must have in your bag for a Dubai business trip?
Water.
Water?
Yes, it's very hot.
You can't check that on a plane.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I don't. That's all I have.
Okay. Vibe check. Let's see. Okay, Todd. What is the one word that describes the pace of business in the UAE?
Say water.
Yes. It is like New York on steroids. It is so fast that you just can't. That's a bigger word than, I grew up here. It's crazy. Crazy good. It's fun.
That's 60 words, but we'll take it.
Yes.
Okay.
That sounds okay.
You can't put it in one word. Okay. Let's see. Ayman, the UAE is a gold mine or a long game?
It's a long game.
Thank you for one more. Okay, passed you guys. You passed. Okay. And Akhil, the final one. What was the best meal or cultural experience you had on a trade mission?
Is there an answer right? Yeah. One more. Huda.
Oh, there you go. Amazing. Can we get a round of applause for
Here, one last thing, boss.
we have questions at stake list that
I just want to share one thing. What we talked about our comfort level, about going over there, and how do you feel comfortable? Let's not miss out that Jeff in the back of the room in our MBA program has roughly half of our MBA students coming from international areas to America. Because in those areas, we still have a promise and we have an American dream. And I will tell you that we unfortunately are not giving those students enough internships to get real experience in America. And if you haven't, because we have a bunch of them, if you have not spoken to Jeff or at the business school about some of these students, you are missing out on an investment that will change your business. And so I hope you'll take a second and talk to Jeff about that if you have any interest at all, because we owe it to them. They left everything to come here and we can't give them an internship. Bullshit.
Amen. Hi, I'll try to make it a brief one. My question was in terms of legal representation, or if there are necessary protections that one might need for copyrights or patents, or is that something that you would go through Kentucky's World Trade, a U.S. Embassy? Do you have personal legal firms or?
Yeah, I actually had a very specific experience to this. And this is actually through the Endeavor Network, but we certainly at Omar would have been able to provide something similar, I'm sure. I sat down with a gentleman who gave me kind of the lay of the land, and I didn't read enough to be able to give you the super nuts on it. But it's an environment that's relatively complex. But if you understand the complexity of it, it's actually designed to really benefit those who want to come in and do business in the area. I didn't get as much into the IP stuff, but as far as how you set up an entity, where the tax advantages are, there's a lot there. So if you are looking at UAE, I think Omar for our purposes, would be an incredible resource for that. But there is, when I walked away from it, not the specifics, but just remembering that it's definitely set up for those who understand the system to really do. So,
all right. Give them a round of applause. Thank you again. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here in a minute is we're going to be going over to a pub area, and there'll be some food and drinks and things of that nature. But before I finish out on that, I want to add a few closing remarks. Yes, we're going December 5th, 2026 to Dubai, and I look forward to having not 16 individuals with me. I look forward to having 30 individuals with me, so please consider that. But I'm going to actually share with you news that's still not in the news, because the World Trade Center, Kentucky, we facilitate relationships constantly. And when you wake up tomorrow, you're going to be reading about Lonnie Holly being in the United Arab Emirates and signing an agreement with the American University of Sharjah. And that is something that the World Trade Center facilitated to happen. And it's a significant donation that the Sharjah Emirate is going to be giving to the Muhammad Ali Center. That's the kind of relationship. Moreover, our latest member, Churchill Downs, Josh, raise your hand. Decided, or actually we've been talking about this for a while, he's going to come and visit me the last week in March, and we're going to facilitate more meetings there. Of course, he chose the last week in March because a little race happens there around the same time, right? The most luxurious World Cup in horse racing at Maidan. I think it's appropriate for Churchill Downs to be there. So keep that in mind. We facilitate relationships. We're open for business. We appreciate your relationship. You are not allowed to leave because it's snowing heavily, so the roads are a mess. You have to go next door, have a drink, and eat until the roads get. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you next time.